Hello, my elven warriors. I'm back, and this time I decided I'm going to make a sculpture just in time for the Fallout TV show. What was that? Oh no. Oh god, I'm in trouble. So I'm 2 months late. I started this sculpture around the time of the Fallout TV show's release. As usual, I'm going to start with making a armature, and I'm just going to skip over all the boring stuff and get straight to the armature being made. I wish I could skip over making the armature. I hate making the armature, it's boring. Actually, it's less boring, it's more irritating. And I'm just gonna add layers of clay until the body is appropriately bulked up. And then I add these little clay bones and stuff that are supposed to be the hip bones. And then you got the rib cage bones. And then you got the muscles for the back. And then you got the shoulder blade, and then the other shoulder blade thingy that actually I think were the first things were supposed to be muscles. And this is actually shoulder blades. And this is a butt cheek. I'm adding a butt cheek. And then you got the leg muscles, and it's just bulking up, trying to follow as closely to human anatomy as possible, and then lots of blending with a ball stylus, and then more laying muscles in places where muscles go. Right now I'm adding in the arm muscles and more arm muscles. I got the forearm muscle right here, I'm adding that on, and then I'm blending with my finger. And then now I'm blending with a ball stylus. Lots of muscles and bones and like kneecap bones. And then blending. And then the boobies. I'm adding the boobies. Using my spoon tool, I blend the boobies into the chest. And now there's 2 boobies. But when they're wearing the vault suit, the female model seemed to have more of a uniboob thing going on because the suit is, believe it or not, it's not skin tight. It's, you know, more of like a suit. And then now I'm adding the wrinkles by adding little snaky wormy guys onto the arm and then blending that in with a small ball stylus. And then repeating the same process with the crotch wrinkles, the wrinkles of the crotchular zone. And then using the sharp end of a sculpting tool, I begin to carve in the little golden strip down the center of the chest, the space where, you know, I assume the zipper is. And then, you know, just carving in both sides. And then they have these weird snaky tubes that run across the vault suit. And I assume maybe the reason for these tubes is to, I don't know, somehow preserve moisture or something and recycle it in a way. Or maybe, I don't know, I don't know why these tubes are there. Maybe they're just an aesthetic choice. Probably just an aesthetic choice. But maybe there is a scientific reason for it and they explain that in depth. I just don't know. To add the ripply texture to the chest, I place a piece of cling film over top, and then I use a metal sculpting tool to carve the detail in. The purpose of the cling film is to prevent tearing of the clay. Using cosclay, I make the collar of the vault suit because cosclay is supposed to be more flexible and not break as easy. Supposed to be. It breaks just as easy for me every time. Maybe I'm using it wrong. I don't know. And then I use the cling film trick again to carve the ripples or bumpies or whatever the heck you want to call them into the arm. And then it gets more tubes down the arm. You want a glimpse at what I eat in a day? Here it is. Garlic, cheese, and corn tortilla shells. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner of champions. This is the leg of my ring light, which is what I use to light these videos. It busted, and it's been held together with hopes and dreams. Using palette knife, I begin to shape the feet, which are just blocks of clay slapped onto the ankles. To make the leggy pieces of the boots, I wrap a thin sheet of clay around the foot and ankle and leg and blend it in using a spoon tool. And then I carve in little seam style details with the pointy end of a sculpting tool. And when all's said and done, these boots are huge because I have the coordination of a 4-year-old. To begin the eye sockets, I press in with my fingers, and then I use a scoopy tool to scoop out the eye cavities. Sound like a psycho. And then I put a little blobby piece on for the nose and begin to blend and shape with a teeny tiny spoon tool. And then I begin to push in the face creases with a spoon tool. The face model I used was Emma Stone, and it looks nothing like Emma Stone. It's a disgrace. And then I add cheekbones with a big spoon tool and 2 blobs of clay. And then to add lip-ish detail, I really should have added wormy dealies to add lip-ish detail, but instead I used the spoon tool to kind of press in a lip detail. And then for the eyes, I rolled out 2 balls of clay, baked them, and then pushed them into the eye sockets. And then I begin to add the eyelids by putting wormy dealies on the face and then blending them in. And I repeat that for the top and bottom eyelid. The ear is just a blob of clay smoothed on with a ball stylus, and then detail gets pressed in using the ball stylus. For the start of the hair, I drill a hole in her head and popped a wire in, and then I take a big log of clay, roll it to a point, and start sliding it over the wire. And then I take more tiny pieces of wire and I wrap them in clay and then inject them into the hair. Those are supposed to look like extra strands of hair. And then I roll out a bunch of wormy dealies and I stick them on the head to reduce the baldness. And then I blend them in using the ball stylus, adding a hair texture as I go. This could look better, but as you know, it's 2 months late, so I kind of ran out of time. And then I just use the ball stylus to just pull in a streaky pattern to give the illusion of hair. Her hand is a little clay mitten that gets blended onto her wrist stump and then shaped into the shape of a hand with a spoon tool. And her fingies are little pieces of wire wrapped in hot dogs of clay and then blended into a fingy shape. And then slid down into the hand nub. And yes, her fingers are huge. I'm trying, guys. The vault suit has a leather wrist cuff, and I just take a flat sheet of clay, roll it over the wrist, and then blend it in to make it a smooth cuff. This character is going to have a shot blaster, double pew pew, a bubble barrel shotgun. Dang it! I said shotgun anyways. To make the barrels of the blaster, I cut 2 lengths of bamboo skewer. I cut clay vaguely into the shape of a double barrel blaster, and then I press the barrels into place, cut a piece of clay to be the handle, smooth that into the rest of the blaster, take the wooden piece that's on the bottom, slap that on the bad boy, take a piece of wire and insert it into the gun. Dang it, the blaster. And that is the trigger of the blaster. And after plenty of tweaking and pushing and pulling on the blaster, it is misshapen and terrible looking. But hey, it reads vaguely as a double barrel blaster. And then I take another piece of armature wire and put it in as the sights on the blaster. And then because I thought it was lacking in visual interest, I wrap a piece of clay around it, almost like a piece of cloth wrap. Why I did this, I don't know. And I carve a wooden texture in using the ball stylus. And then I take a piece of clay and I make the 10mm blaster from Fallout. It doesn't really look like the 10mm blaster, but hey, I tried. Mechanical things are not my strong suit. Carve in a bunch of lines trying to imitate the lines on the blaster. I'm gonna call it a gun. Blaster's stupid. It has these weird carved out sections on the butt of the gun. I don't know what those are, but I carved them in anyways because that's what I saw on there. Now I just place the guns in her hand. And it fell over in the oven on the final bake, and the head snapped off. And I pulled out my airbrush for this one, and oh boy, does the airbrush make quick work of painting. But also, oh boy, is it a pain in the butt to clean out. Especially when you use paints that are old and clumpy and dry, and it spits a clump in there, and then it jams up your whole air gun, and you have to take the whole thing apart. Anyways, vault suit blue for the vault suit, and then I decided I wanted her to have red hair because red hair is pretty. And then she got brown leather cuffs because they have brown leather cuffs. Right here, I'm painting her skin. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to painting skin tones. I just kind of vaguely painted a skin tone-ish color. I mean, that looks okay, I think. For the metallic parts of the suit, like the gold and the silver, I painted those red beforehand so that they would pop and be more visually interesting when the gold and silver paint goes on. And now I'm applying the gold to the golden parts. Now I'm using a tiny fine liner nail brush to paint in the vault number. And I went with vault 111 because I couldn't pick a vault number. And now I'm painting on the silver parts of the suit. That includes the pipe that goes onto the back. I don't know what the things on the suit do. I don't know what the metallic parts are for. Maybe someone in the comments can enlighten me. Anyways, I am painting the brown handle part of the 10mm, and then I am painting the silver parts of the 10mm. And then I use almost the same color of silver on the shotgun, except for I added some black because as far as I can tell, those shotguns have a more black color to them rather than a silvery color. And then I add wood brown to the wooden brown parts of the gun. And I get that my paint looks like it's really thick. I promise I watered it down, but I don't know. I guess it didn't water down enough. Now I'm adding white to the whites of the eyes. And stippling brown on the boots, trying to give it like a dusty texture. This would have worked better if I had chalk pastels. I do not. My sister might have some, but I don't want to steal it from her. And now I begin to flick. I don't think I can say what that stuff is. Strawberry jam. I'm flicking strawberry jam on her. Because everything looked really flat and plasticky, I begin to dry brush in spots to kind of reduce the flat and plasticky look. Her eyes get a baby blue because pretty baby blue eyes. Pretty baby blue eyes. Her face I painted off camera because I did not press record when I thought I had pressed record. You are getting the end of all the makeup and everything, but I added eyebrows and lipstick. Anyways, she needs a base to stand on, so I cut out a square piece of foam. I paint it gray. I painted another shade of gray in a wash form. I dab off all the excess and leave it just in the recesses. And then I made a bunch of plaster rocks. For 2 projects ago, I dry brush the plaster rocks, I paint the plaster rocks, not in that order. I glued down the plaster rocks, but not until after I have glued down the sculpture. And we're on to the reveals. Anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you had a lovely 2 months while I didn't post. and I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe. It really helps, especially when I don't post super often. Please subscribe. Love me.